Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing. We are here. It is October. We're still experiencing some great autumn weather. We haven't had any frost yet, but we still got to get those October jobs done because frost could come pretty much any time now. So we've been spending the last couple of weeks bringing in a lot of our tender stuff. So today we're going to look at one other group of tender things, and that's some tender bulbs, namely gladiolus, acidanthera. What do we do with those for the winter? So I've got this big pot of acidanthera here, and acidanthera is a beautiful late summer flowering bulb. You can see that it's still in bloom here, and it actually is very closely related to gladiolus and can be treated exactly the same way. Um, it is still blooming. It is still sort of actively growing. So normally what we would do with these guys is we would wait for a frost to sort of nip them back, nip this foliage back. So you can still do that. You don't need to do this before a frost, but you'll be ready to go when the frost comes. So a frost is going to nip this foliage back, and that foliage right now is sending all this energy down into the bulbs, which is exactly what we want to do. So I'm going to dig them up, and I'm going to show you just sort of the structure and what you're looking for when you're digging up your glads or your acidanthus. So these are in pots, so they're pretty easy to dig, generally. They're not too deep. We plant them usually about 4 to 6 inches deep. I like to use them in big containers because they make great centerpieces for containers. You can see the foliage is big and spiky green, and then you've got bloom on top of that. So we're pulling up our acidanthus here. And the interesting thing about acidanthus and gladiolus, for example, is they're not actually a bulb, they're a corm. So what happens is, these have grown exceptionally well. So corms grow, when you plant a corm, what happens is a new corm grows on top of them. I don't know if I can show you too well in this one, but the corm that we grew, I can show you on this one better. I pulled this one up last week by accident. The corm that we planted is this part right here. And you can see that it's basically disappeared. Because what happens is that the corm that you plant actually grows another corm on top of it. Right there. So you see, so here's the corm we planted. Here's the corm that grows on top of it. In addition to that, we get all these little pups here. So you get all these little baby corms. Now, they're going to be a couple of years before they do anything, but you can keep them and grow them on. These are still a bit small; they'll just stay attached to the new corm. But the new corm is actually quite a bit bigger, and these ones that I've just dug up now are way bigger than the corms we planted. I normally don't save acidanthus just simply because they're very inexpensive to buy fresh ones. But you know what? With the size of these corms, I think I might just try keeping them over. So what you'll do, very similar to the canna lilies we did last time, you're going to take these. If you're going to dig them now and get ahead of the frost, you just put them somewhere dry so the corm can cure and form a skin on it. You can see that this one that's been out of the ground for about a week is already doing that. And then once all the foliage has died back, that's when you can cut it off, cut it right down, and save your corms for next year. Now, one thing you need to watch out for with gladiolus and acidanthera corms from year to year are thrips. Now, thrips are a little insect that can get into your corms and just devastate them. So, not a bad idea. If you have some uh, powdered insecticide to give them a little powder, even a little dusting with some sulfur powder in case any fungus get into them. But you can keep those corms over from year to year. Uh, Not difficult. Same way you store your cannas, dahlias, things like that. Somewhere dry and cool. Keeping in mind that gladiolus and acidanthras are almost winter hardy, so they can be kept cool without any real worry. If they don't work, you're not out much. You know, you can get gladiolus corms for about $1 a piece. Uh, Acidanthras, uh, 50, 60 cents a piece. So they're not, it's not a necessity.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, it's a little windy today.
And
Lost our tripod there. As I was saying, acidanthras are pretty cheap, so it's really not too much of a worry if you don't save them. But these ones have grown so exceptionally well that I think I'm going to try keeping them over and just see what happens. So they're beautiful. So we'll just let that foliage now all die down. All that goodness is going to go back into the corms. And then in about a week or so, when they're fully dried and the foliage has died down, we can store them away for winter. And we'll have some great corms to plant out for next year. There we go. I'm going to leave the rest of these until a frost hits them because we don't need to dig them up just yet. We'll let a frost do its thing, and then that will also help in forcing all that goodness from the foliage down into the bulbs. So, great time to be doing this. Be thinking about your dahlias as well. We could actually, maybe we'll move over to a dahlia. We got a couple of minutes here. We'll move over to a dahlia quickly. We've got acidanthera and gladiolus in these pots. So let's see if we can get a glad out of here. I planted them quite deeply in the pot, so. Big sweet potato in the way, that's what the problem is. No, I didn't get the glad, but boy, that's actually created a big tuber down there. So a corm. I may go down and find those. But while we're right here, let's just have a look and see what our sweet potatoes did this year. Look at those. Now, if you're into saving vegetables and things like that, there's no reason why you can't save your ornamental sweet potato vines because they're just a sweet potato. There's really nothing different about them. And if you look here on this sweet potato, you can see we've got lots of eyes. So if you just store that away with your glads and stuff like that, and your dahlias, you can regrow your sweet potatoes next year as well. Are they edible? Technically, yes, but the sweet potatoes we generally grow for ornamentals aren't really great tasting sweet potatoes, but they give us that beautiful foliage. Now, there is a series of edible ornamental sweet potatoes. I'm hoping to get a hold of those for next year, where you can have beautiful sweet potatoes to use in your containers and then eat the potatoes at the end of the year. So watch for that. But you can store your sweet potatoes when they form a great tuber like that, exactly as you would potatoes or other bulbs and things like that. So I'm going to leave those glads because I might try and get those out on their own. Let me just see if we can. I'm tempted to get one because they were so big. I did plant them very deep, so I'm not quite sure. Get them out. No, you see, look at that. I still didn't get it. Oh, they're way down in there. Okay. Project for another day. Let's go look at a dahlia here. So these dahlias we grew in our big, huge planter here. I basically stopped watering, so we're just letting them die down. So these were a dahlia, and I'm interested to see if they've really formed good tubers. These were dahlias that were grown from cuttings this spring. So they certainly have grown well and bloomed like crazy for us. Let's see if they've formed some tubers for us. This is one called Electro Pink. Got a beautiful cactus flower, dark foliage, just the dahlias I like. These are from cuttings. And yeah, certainly, there's going to be a nice little clump of dahlias right there. So we'll do the same with these. We'll knock the excess soil off. There is a nice clump of tubers there. And a good sturdy stem, so we'll leave that to dry for about a week or so. Let all this foliage die down. Then we'll cut it off. And we'll store this away just like this. I know a lot of people like to divide them at this time of the year and lay out the individual tubers, and you can completely do that. For us, we'll do that when we're getting ready to pot them up. We'll divide them and pot them. So we'll just leave it just like this with a bit of excess soil sitting on them and just keep them dry and pack them away with all of our other summer flowering bulbs. So find a place that's nice and dry, out of rain, out of weather, in a garage, in a shed, under an overhang. Let them sit. A little bit of frost not going to hurt them if you leave them in the ground still. All this just gets worked its way back down into the bulb, so strengthens the bulb for next year. Have we got any questions today, Ron?
No questions.
No questions today. All right. Well, that's a little bit of a primer on your bulbs. Like I said, you can wait till frost, and it's not a bad idea to if you can do it. That will go with your canna lilies, your glads, your acidantheras, your dahlias. They can all get a bit of a frost nip before you have to get them out of the ground. So we'll leave you with that. Hope for more good autumn weather, and we'll see you next time on Let's Get Growing.